Hi guys, Billy S here, bringing you another video, and today we're talking about PC Game Pass, the Microsoft-ran subscription service that allows you access to a library of over 100 different games which you can play to completion, assuming you're subscribed. Now this probably comes as no earth-shattering revelation for the rest of you, since Game Pass has rightfully been coined as a success, giving people access to both AAA titles and indie games that perhaps they never would have played before. It took me a while to get around to Game Pass because I had no money, or a bank account, or a lot of different things, but in the past few months, I've been getting that sorted out, and I was finally able to give PC Game Pass a try, especially after I noticed that a lot of my Steam wishlist was playable via the Game Pass. I'm saving money, honey. So today I'd like to talk about some of the games I played via this Game Pass, because I genuinely believe this service is a game changer. Low-income families finally have a way to get their kids a variety of games at their fingertips. Indie developers have a way of showing off their games to prospective customers, and for people like me who didn't grow up with an Xbox, it gives me a chance to explore Microsoft's catalog of AAA experiences like the Halo games. Maybe I'll do more videos on Game Pass in the future, but this episode's going to focus on the games I've played so far. Before we get started though, I would just like to take a very brief moment to thank everyone who has watched my Metroid Dread review video I posted a few months ago. We just hit over 10,000 views. That is absolutely insane, and I am so thankful to you all. Let's keep this train rolling. So without further ado, let us begin. Unpacking is a story-based puzzle game developed by Witchbeam and published back in 2021 via the Humble Bundle. It is what it says on the tin, as each stage of the game, your goal is to unpack all of your belongings as best you can. You start off simple with a single bedroom and a couple of boxes, but as your life progresses and you begin moving in with other people, getting a house of your own, and finding yourself, you'll have to furnish more rooms and have more stuff to unpack. It can get a little hectic at times. It's got this gorgeous high-res pixel art style that's extremely satisfying to look at, and there's something relaxing and enjoyable about unpacking all of these boxes. Because each stage of the game takes place at a different time in the main character's life, you get to see some items transition from your childhood to your adulthood. Your favorite mug might lose its handle and you'll have to put your toothbrush in it in the bathroom. Your stuffed toy may begin to look older. You might shift through different clothes across the years. And the best part is that because of this, everything tells a story. Moving in with your college boyfriend only for the next stage to be moving back home and having to hide his photo in a drawer, I think you can guess what happened there. The narrative is surprisingly strong for this title, but I'm also glad that I played it on Game Pass, because the total playtime is a couple of hours, but this game's retail price is 20 euros here, and for me, that's just too steep to justify the purchase. So Game Pass was genuinely a perfect way to experience this title. I'd highly recommend it as one of your first Game Pass games if you haven't played it already. Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion by Graffiti Games is a fantastic little comedic top-down adventure where you play as the titular Turnip Boy. Mayor Onion has hit you up with a tax evasion notice, and you have to do his bidding and explore the world, collecting items and solving mysteries to have your crimes abolished. But very quickly you'll realize there's a little more to this game than meets the eye. I won't spoil anything, but there are some moments I was not expecting, and it made the game way more fun as a result. It doesn't take itself too seriously though, and parodies the 2D Zelda-style format of gameplay while injecting a serious helping of charm into its world and many, many characters. Anytime you're given a form of paper, Turnip Boy always rips it up, even if it's a love letter for another character or an autograph from a famous streamer. The game also isn't too hard and does have some replayability due to its post-game content where you gain access to a roguelike train dungeon that doesn't end. This game made me laugh out loud, and it can be completed in an afternoon, so for those of you looking for a short but very sweet experience, go commit tax evasion. It's legal in video games. Looking for something a little more horrifying? Want to go on a power trip and destroy the human race? Carrion, developed by Phobia Game Studio and published by Devolver Digital, released back in July 2020, is the game for you. In it, you take control of a red tentacled monster of unknown origin, assumedly an alien or a symbiote, whose one purpose is to escape the facility it's been contained in and destroy the human race. Effectively, you're playing as the monster in a monster movie, you're the one terrorizing all the survivors, and you have to manage various different forms and abilities as you continue to rampage through where you're contained. What makes this game fun is that it's a puzzle game, but due to the action and intensity of the main character, it doesn't always slog like a puzzle game normally does. Every upgrade makes you more terrifying than the last, and perhaps there's even a reason as to why you're deciding to break out now. Flashback sequences reveal a little more of what's going on, but you're an evil monster hellbent on destroying the world, it's all good. The fun balance comes from how the monster you play is actually a glass cannon. You can kill everything in one hit, but all they need is a couple of bullets and you can get taken down very quickly. You have to strategize and think around enemy encounters, emulating those intelligent monsters from movies and television shows in a way that is very satisfying. There's also a short Christmas DLC, which was a nice extra bit of content and didn't take itself too seriously. A game I downloaded on a whim, Lonely Mountain Downhill is a 2019 sports simulation game developed by Megagon Industries that simulates the experience of biking down various mountain trails from the safety of your own home. With 16 different trails spread out across 4 different mountains, there's a lot of nature to be biked through in this title. Your first ride down each track is a simple get-to-the-end experience, where you can learn the track, look around for potential shortcuts, test out different techniques, and learn the physics of the game. Because if you don't, you'll be crashing into rocks or trees and falling off cliffs to your doom. Respawning is quick and simple though, so you'll be back on your wheels in no time, and as you learn how to control your bike, it's really satisfying to get more daring with the obstacles on the tracks. You may even have to make some tricky jumps or shimmy down treacherous terrain. Each mountain feels unique to the other, and they all have different challenges to face. For example, the canyon has a lot of jumps and a lot of cliffs, whereas the Redmore Peaks focuses on a lot of biking across rivers and pools of water. Once you complete a trail, you unlock missions such as completing the course in under a certain amount of time, or without a certain amount of crashes, and you'll be surprised at how quickly you pick up the flow of mechanics. This was a perfect game to sit down and relax with when I wanted to play something quick and peaceful, and I think I'll be going back to it more in the future. Highly recommended. Tunic is an action-adventure indie game developed by Andrew Sholdis that was released back in March, and was honestly not what I expected. I'd seen this game in development across the years, and I knew I wanted to play it because it looked like it was taking the formula of 2D Zelda games while enhancing them with beautiful graphics and a unique world. And it also helped that the main character was an adorable little fox. But when I finally got around to playing the game, there were a few key elements that actually surprised me. One, the game has its own in-game language, and all the tutorials and characters you meet share this language. So there's an element of inference and common sense that you'll need to actually figure out what everything is saying and what you have to do. 2, the combat felt more Dark Souls inspired than Zelda inspired, featuring a stamina gauge, enemies with attacks that you'll need to dodge at the correct times to avoid, stuff like that. It was easy to die, and I died a lot. And 3, the game's tutorials are presented to the player via these collectible in-game instructional manual pages, and this was perhaps my favorite part of the game because the illustrations on these pages were clearly lovingly crafted and brought back memories of old video game manuals. And for the Zoomers watching, video game manuals were these small books that contained story and gameplay information about a game, generally with adorable illustrations. Some even had little note sections on the back, so you'd take notes there, you'd find them in your game cases. And for the Zoomers watching, books are these pieces of paper glued together and bound by covers which were used for reading stories. And for the Zoomers watching, reading is what we did before we had the internet. Tunic surprised me by not being what I expected, and for the most part I enjoyed my time with it. But there are some secrets in the game that the average player simply won't discover, and I don't think you'd be faulted if you need a guide to help you out at certain points. It's a good experience, it's worth playing, I'm just not fully sure how to describe it. Another game that came out early this year back in February was the Metroidvania Infernax, developed by Berserk Studio. Taking clear inspiration from the old-school Castlevania games, Infernax is this gory adventure to save your kingdom from the forces of hell, but with a twist. At certain points in the game, you are given various choices, and it's up to you whether you choose to take the holy path of good or steer down a path of evil and help bring ruin to your kingdom. This title is hard as nails, and for players who may struggle with this 2D side-scrolling gameplay, I'd recommend the easier difficulty. My first playthrough on the normal mode was incredibly tough as it was. There are also a series of cheat codes to make the game a little easier, including max experience points, max gold, unlimited jumps, and much more. Though try your best in-game first. Each of the monsters you encounter are unique and horrifying, and you'll have to battle your way through both routes if you want to fill up your monster bestiary. This is important, as if you fill up enough of the bestiary, you'll unlock a special mission at a certain place. No spoilers from me, but it opens up to one of the best secret Easter eggs I have witnessed in a long time. Infernax is a quality game, controls really well, and the gore is off the charts. If you've ever enjoyed Castlevania or the Metroid games, I think Infernax will be for you. Just remember to save. For the love of God, remember to save. Lastly, let's talk about my favorite game I've played from the Game Pass, Bugsnax. Developed by Young Horses and released back in November 2020, the game was just recently added to the Game Pass, following its exclusivity to PlayStation and Epic Games coming to an end. And with it, we got access to one of my favorite games of the last few years. Bugsnax is a very simple game with a very simple premise. Catch Bugsnax and feed them to the residents of Snacktooth Island to progress the story. You need to convince each resident to return to the main hub of Snacksburg, where you'll be able to interview them to find out more information about the expedition that led them all to this island. You're searching for two missing Grumpuses, the equivalent of humans in this world, the town doctor Eggabell, and the leader of the group Elizabeth. And well, let's just say the story isn't quite what you're expecting. It's a lot more mature than you might think. The main gameplay comes from using your tools to catch the Bugsnax, from your source slingshot to your launch pad, and of course your trusty cage and net. I caught every Bugsnax in the game and even ranked them in a previous video on whether I'd eat or yeet them, so go check that out, link in the corner. But what ultimately kept my attention wasn't the capture of the snacks themselves, but the various stories of the characters you meet on Snacktooth. Nobody on this expedition is perfect, and everyone has their own demons they're trying to avoid by coming out to the island. But the way the cast interacts with each other is perhaps its strongest asset. Not every character gets along, and it's not this perfect harmony that you'd see in other games. There's real tension, there's some intense subject matter that gets tackled, but there's also a lot of good in these characters. I especially love how the LGBTQ+ relationships are handled, as the relationships aren't the forefront of these characters' personalities, which honestly is what we need. Nobody ever thinks twice about a straight relationship. And in Bugsnax, nobody ever thinks twice about an LGBTQ+ relationship. It's great. Chandlo is best boy, by the way, and with the release of Bugsnax on all these new platforms, there's also a patch of DLC that came along with it, including a new area to explore, and more fleshed out character moments between some of the cast. Once again, Chandlo is best boy. Please play this game, please. It's not particularly long, and it really is worth experiencing. I've played more games on the Game Pass, but those are the 7 I wanted to talk about in this video, though trust me, I will have more to talk about very soon. You can find links to all the games featured in the description below, and of course they are all currently available on Game Pass. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. I have a channel Patreon if you want to support the channel. I recently made the decision to cut back to just one tier of Patreon, the $5 tier, and you'll get a nice shout out in my video, like these fine folks on screen right now, if you join up. Thanks for watching, I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.